Hi, welcome to the church at 434 DNA. This is the DNA that is behind the scenes of everything that we do, the things that we strive to do, why we do it the way that we do it, and what it all means. This is that peek behind the scenes into leadership and try to give you an idea into the mindset of what we try or strive for as leaders here at the church at 434. We've talked about a lot of things in this limited series, and so today I want to mention one more thing to you, and it's simply this. It's an idea, if you will, but it's also a philosophy. And the philosophy is simply this: everything is an experiment. Everything is an experiment. In other words, here at the church at 434, even if you go back and listen to the DNA series, we've said you do it right and you do it well, and we do, or we try to do that. But we also know that everything is an experiment, meaning that we're free to try things, knowing that when we do it the best we possibly can and we try to do it right, it might not work and it could fail. And failure is okay. It was just an experiment anyway. An experiment to try to be the best that we possibly could be. If it works and it clicks and it connects, boom, we run with it. And we continue to develop it, and we push it even harder. If it doesn't, we have to look at why it didn't work. Is there something that we needed to change early on that we just missed it or we blew it? And then what do we need to do differently? As we're recording this, we have been through what has been a global pandemic. And at the time that we're recording this, we are now coming out of that, it seems. We're emerging from that pandemic. But that caused us to have to move back and really start experimenting with the way that we are doing church, because church couldn't be church as it had always been. And most of you who are watching this will remember that, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. We lived in the state of Florida. It was never officially mandated that we couldn't meet, but nobody was meeting. The county regulations said we couldn't meet, we couldn't assemble. So all of a sudden we went from 1 week being able to be together to the next week shutting down the building and shutting down our worship times of gathering, and we went strictly to online style ministries. And so we had to experiment and try to figure out how to make that work, how to do it well. What were we going to do? How was it going to happen? Out of that, a number of ideas evolved. One of the ideas you're the beneficiary of right now because you're watching the Church at 434 in Motion, which is our streaming on-demand video service. And all of these programs, including this one, are part of that mindset that said, let's experiment, let's try to do something and deliver some resources to people that will be helpful. And so you're the beneficiary of that. We had to learn how to do worship in a parking lot, in a drive-in setting, and do so in a way that would work, and try to be effective in doing that. And also try to take it outside, but also continue to stream it live online. And don't kid yourself, you can ask anybody who was involved in that it was not an easy thing to do. And we didn't just do it once, we did it twice. We went to the well a couple times trying to give our people an opportunity to connect. We experimented with it. Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? What do we need to do to fix it? And one day we even had to battle some not so nice, a little bit nasty weather, and even had to adjust even more. But as leaders, everybody kind of jumped in and did what they needed to do to make it happen and make it work. It wasn't easy, and we really didn't know how well it was going to work until we got into it. It was an experiment. But when you look at things and realize that everything's an experiment, you're simply trying to flesh out what it is you're supposed to do, flesh out your calling, flesh out who it is that God has called you to be. You're experimenting. You're trying. You're not going to fail. You're going to learn how not to do something. You're going to learn what didn't work, but you're not a failure if you try. But learning to look at life as an experiment and learning to look at moments that you have as a leader as an experiment, it can be very, very helpful for you. It also doesn't lock you in long term. It's that idea, well, we'll try it. Some people want to push back against that and say, well, if you're going to try it, you ought to commit to it. Oh, no, we're committed to it. And we're committed to trying it. But we also know that everything has a shelf life, and sometimes you've got to come back in and you need to revamp and do it all over again. So when we do things sometimes those things disappear. Sometimes you don't see them again. As a matter of fact, this series that you're watching right now is a limited edition series, and when it's done, it's done. And it will disappear and just become part of our archive that you can stream on demand. But everything's an experiment. We've been blessed here. A lot of them have worked and worked very well. Some of our best ideas, they didn't get off the ground. They didn't work like we thought they would do. But it wasn't the end of the day when it didn't work quite right. It simply was an opportunity to learn, grow, and figure out a way to try it again. And you always try again. Sometimes fresh, sometimes new, sometimes you just do a rerun and see if you can make it better the second time around. But it's always an experiment. When you do that in life, it doesn't hurt. And understanding that's how we work things might help you understand what you see going on around you sometimes. And so, with that being said, that's this edition of DNA. There's one more episode in this limited edition series, one more time that you get to hear us tackle this topic, one more time that you get to jump in. So if you haven't heard the whole series yet, go ahead and catch up. Because when we get to episode 11, that is the conclusion. I'll see you then.